A lot that from Kansas last year that you have to throw away because your line is kind of different, like drastically different, especially at the tackle spots and what you're doing at guard.
Well, I don't know if you ever throw it away. I certainly think you watch how Kansas developed as a team too, and how they got better throughout the year. They played some great opponents in Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas State, and and then obviously you watch them, and they've changed a little bit defensively, right? Their personnel, they've got a couple guys leave and bring some guys in, and so they do. I think they have 75% or 78% of their production back, or some whatever statistic that is. But so there's a lot of returning guys there, but there's going to be some nuances that they're going to take too. But I think you watch that game, I think you see what we were deficient at, but at the same time, you prepare like you're prepared for any opponent or new opponent. You got to watch this year and last year and go from there and know what they do, and obviously we got to get better at what we do, right? That's the biggest thing, is correct some of the mistakes that we made that allowed what happened last year to happen.
Bart, I know you've been asked this, I'm sorry, but what did you make of what you guys did against Eastern on Thursday?
Well, I thought it was a good start. I thought we developed the perimeter run game pretty well, got that going. Eastern, a lot of credit to Eastern. They did a lot of movement and interior stuff to take away our inside zone, which that's fine. And we got to be able to counter that, right? And I thought we did that fairly well. I was pleased with what we protected. For the most part, we played fairly clean. We had 2 penalties. Obviously, we can get those cleaned up, but a little sloppy on some technique stuff, especially on the backside. A couple, second short, we missed a combination block and stuff things like that. We need to get cleaned up, game one stuff. But for the most part, I was pleased with the win. Pleased we got it. But there's a lot to clean up.
Melvin's kind of been the talk of the last couple of days, just with some of the way he hit on some of those
Sure.
plays. And what you see from him in his first extended action? How does that physicality trickle around your room?
I was pleased with the physicality. He had him for 11 knockdowns. Josh had 10 and a half. That was the good part, is the physicality. He was locked in on the sideline. He's smart player, aware football player. He made some corrections throughout the game. Didn't get a penalty, which was good. I'm sure there were times where he wanted to go, take off a few heads, but composure was I was pleased with his composure. A little bit sloppy on some of the technique, and we got to clean that up, because we start playing teams in obviously this week, and then teams in our conference. We're not gonna get away with some of that stuff. So got to clean some things up with him, but a good starting point and a lot to grow from.
Do you get concerned about that? Because Coach B talked about, as it ratchets up in terms of opponent and big game and all those things, Melvin will ratchet up as well. And do you have to monitor that on not his physicality, but just going over the line in terms of, getting too intense and then not worrying about technique kind of thing?
Well, I think for all five, you need to worry about them playing poised, right? And disciplined in a big game, and that's what a champion does. That's what a pro does. Is he rises to the occasion and doesn't let that affect his muscle memory, doesn't affect the things that you're training for on months and months and months on end. You're playing for those moments. This is the Big Ten Conference, and we've been in big games here before, and the expectation is for them to rise to the occasion. And in the next year or the year after, or whenever they get an opportunity, if they want to go to the next level, they're going to have to do that too. Every game at this level is a big game, and so I worry about all five of them, but that's also why we train them, right? Is to have that discipline and have that poise in critical moments, and that's why we put them through what we do in camp. That's why we put them through those hard situations. That's why I'm tough on them. That's why we yell and scream and ratchet up the intensity of practice, and that's why we do goal line. That's why we do everything else, and so that when that moment comes, they're prepared, and they're going to see those moments throughout the course of the year and then years forward. So I expect him to ratchet it up, but I just like I do all the other five, but I also expect them to play our brand of football: tough, smart, and dependable. And that dependable one is maybe the most important, in those situations.
You guys brought out like a barge light formation, I guess, with Brandon Henderson. What do you like about that look, and just how close is Brandon right now?
He's really close. We're finding ways to get him on the field, and that was something we wanted to do. We felt like that gave us the advantageous look to that defense, right, when we did that, and so that was the main factor behind it. And then of course he's built up our trust, and we've worked him at every position. So he's really shown us, especially in the last 3 weeks of fall camp. The last 3 weeks, he's shown a lot of development, a lot of growth, a lot of maturity, and he earned that.
What's that say about him? Like, he's a sophomore, so usually you don't think of sophomore O-linemen in the Big Ten, but he certainly would feel your trust and feel how his game's developing, but to maybe understand the patience, I guess, that comes with having those other guys?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. The patience, it shows that I think he is maturing, you know. I mean, he had success as a freshman, right? And then, you know, that's hard for a freshman, especially from a great program like East St. Louis, right? He kind of probably expected to play early, and then got a chance to kind of dip his toe in there a little bit. But then in the spring, found himself in a position battle, right? Found himself in a position battle in the fall, and you know, had to be versatile to try to find a way on the field. And I think what he's shown is the maturity to overcome some adversity, right? When maybe, you know, he didn't win that out in the spring, but then he came back in the summer and, you know, had a good summer, had a good fall camp, right? And so I think you're starting to see, you know, a very talented young man grow up and become a you know, a well-rounded player that's pushing and ready for his chance.
Just out of curiosity, with a very large crowd expected and the new communication methods, is there anything you're talking to your guys about with noise factors and all that?
Well, hopefully we're at home. I mean, we are at home, but like, hopefully our crowd knows when we're on offense.
Yeah.
And it's not a you know, a hostile environment for us when we're out there. But we got to lock in. We can't have a pre-snap. We had a pre-snap penalty last week. We can't do that. And so things like that we got to be sharp about and be disciplined about. And there's some new rules in college football with what they can and can't do defensively. And but we'll be ready to perform and be disciplined in our approach, and that's what our focus has been.
I know it depends on what the defense is trying to take away sometimes. Like Eastern last week tried to take away your interior stuff, and so you got out on the perimeter. But is your 5 athleticism, you know, kind of showing out at this point when you guys want to do stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially at a couple different positions this year, you know, our ability to pull the tackles, our ability to pull some of our guards and on some of the counter stuff, and then obviously, you know, Kreutz is an athletic, you know, undersized but a very athletic center, and so he can do some of those things. I think it just helps. We're playing to the strengths of a unit that can maybe do that, and whereas in years past we were a little bit built differently. But yeah, I think just being a well-rounded offensive line, being able to do some things when somebody takes something away, you got to be able to counter it, right? And you know, ideally we can execute whatever concept we put out there. So yeah, we just got to keep getting better at some of those things.
What do you like about the protection, keeping Luke upright week 1?
Well, I think it's a good start. I mean, obviously, there's, you know, last year we gave up double the sacks I think I've ever given up in my career. You know, if you go back and look, and I think we've only given up, I think the most ever was 21, and last year we gave up 48, 49, something like that, and that just didn't sit well with us, and for a variety of reasons, right? I mean, we had guys moving positions, we had guys playing out of position, we had guys, you know, that broke down in technique and things like that. So we've got, I think that was a big focal point, was the pride in protecting the quarterback, and we did it when we threw the ball pretty effectively the other night. And we've got talented wideouts. We got Luke's got good arm talent and can get rid of the ball. And obviously you saw some of the throws he made. So if we can give him some time, you know, he can do some good things in the pass game. We got a lot of faith in that. So that's been a focal point. Obviously we got you know, some guys from the portal that are really good pass protectors, and that's been a benefit. But we got guys in the interior that have improved also, and so that's been a big focal point. And you know, I was proud of them for the way they competed and proud of the way they protected. And we had a couple late, I think, pressures or hits. You know, Luke got hit on one. He left the pocket on one. You know, that's not. I mean, that's going to happen if he does that. But that wasn't a protection breakdown or anything. But for the most part, I was pleased with the protection.
Seems like JC's just been constant. All training camp of kind of what the idea he could. Anything surprise you about him on game day?
I just his demeanor, and it shouldn't have surprised me. It's the way he is every day. I mean, he's calm, he's collected. Doesn't get riled up. He's not a big rah-rah guy, but there's an inner confidence. There's an inner, you know, kind of motivation that he plays with, and it's the way he practiced. Like he practiced today, the way he played on Thursday, and you saw that in his approach, you know, and the great ones can do that, right? And so he's not an emotional roller coaster. He's very steady. He's very calm and poised, and he went out and played like it, and really, you know, I'm not sure he was. You know, go back and look, but I think for the most part, from a pass protection standpoint, I mean, he was very sound all day.
Last season, continuity on the line, and this Kansas game in particular, is kind of a work in progress. But to have come into that with a few months of continuity, how much more? Yes, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for. Confidence does that give you, knowing that you've had these 5 for quite some time?
Yeah, I'm very confident in that group. You know, you might see there's some other guys in there this week that might play a little bit just because they've earned it. But you know, the continuity, cohesion of that room has been great, and especially on the edges and at the center spot, like that's been really good. And so to have that camaraderie and that trust continue to build, like I said, I think before, we got 8 or 9 guys in that room that they can really do some things. And so I'm pleased with where it's headed. We got to get a lot better though. Yeah.
Any substitute for